Hey Steph, it's Friday. So I'm entering week 5 of unemployment, which is a little bit scary, and I'm kind of starting to go a bit stir crazy. Pretty much all that's keeping me going right now is the fact that I have a bunch of work and projects ongoing, so I'm really focusing a lot of energy on those. I have gotten an indication that the work that I've put in so far has actually given some results, and I have an indication that I might actually be working starting next week, but I'm not going to talk about it just because all the pieces aren't necessarily in place yet. Basically, though, all this thinking about being a grown up, an adult, lots of responsibilities and work and starting a career and starting a family, I'm trying to find something to do for the rest of my life, and it's not easy. However, this has led me to do some research on a really, really interesting subject, and something I'm going to talk about today: basic income. So, this actually isn't a new idea at all. It's been around for a really long time. People have been talking about it. But I'll get into the basics and explain a little bit about what basic income entails. So it's basically the government of a city, province, or country pooling together resources and giving every citizen generally some guaranteed money coming in either every bi-weekly, every month, or every year, regardless of whether they're working, what their job is, whether they're homeless, need medical attention. Everybody gets. It can vary based on the number of kids you have, or dependents, or if you're married or single or whatever. But the basic concept is that everybody gets a basic level of income, and it's normally around or just slightly above what's considered the poverty line before it happened. So basically, this pooled resourcing would cut out the need for food stamps because you'd be giving everybody money. Even the poor people would have money to buy food. You would need less money for homeless shelters, if any at all. You could. You wouldn't need as much payment for healthcare, for instance, because people would be able to take better care of themselves. There's things like employment insurance that wouldn't be necessary under this regime, and so you'd be able to save a lot of tax money, and you'd be able to save a lot of government funding and put it into this program. And so programs have been tried sort of around the world even. There have been some here in North America, there have been some in Europe that have been tested throughout the last 50 years or so. What they basically look at is giving everybody between $10,000 and up to $35,000 per year guaranteed income. Now, some of these plans, could be some, for instance, where the guaranteed income would be built into your paycheck if you have a job, but if you don't have a job, it's mailed to you anyways. So there are variants of this system, all of which have been tried and are sort of varying success. But the fact is that all the pilot programs that have been tried have been successful. An employee required slightly less pay under the system because some of their income was coming through this guaranteed income system. Businesses could be taxed at a higher rate, and that money could be put back into this system. So there are a lot of ways in which this kind of system could theoretically sustain itself. So the city of Dauphin in Manitoba actually tried a pilot version of this program. So this was in the 1970s. They called it Mincome. So around 30% of the families in Dauphin got a government subsidy every year for 4 years. Unfortunately, the program ran out of money after those 4 years, costing the government about $17 million, which is nothing even by 1970s standards. But because the program ran out of money, nobody ever looked at the results of the program until 2008, when a researcher at the Canadian Institution of Health Research took a look at they had 2,000 boxes worth of reports and findings and all of this, but nobody had ever looked at the whole package. And so a researcher did that. They looked at the entire thing. And so what they found is basically that every metric that we use for economic and social well-being improved. So there were less hospital visits, for instance. There was less crime. Working moms were able to lessen their hours. Education even got better because kids weren't forced to work just to help support their families. And this was just a 4-year pilot program that only affected 30% of families. Swiss citizens have also agreed to put forward a proposal with 100,000 signatures in a petition to try a system like this with guaranteed income. The Swiss proposal works out to about $2,800 per month per person. This program would actually be separate from all other income, and they're actually going to be voting on it in a referendum in the country in about, I think it's about 2 years. They haven't set an exact date yet, but they have referenda every so often, and this is going to be one of the ones on the next available slot. It's going to be interesting to see how the experiment in Switzerland plays out, because sociologists, economists, government employees, they've been talking about the basic pros and cons, potential cons of this system for years. It's been a really long time. Lots of people have talked about it, but nobody's ever tried it on a grand scale. So personally, this affects me not only because really I'm somewhat of a communist at heart, but because I'm somebody who right now would love to be able to pursue their dreams, but I can't right now because of economics. I don't have a job. I've been unemployed for 5 weeks, and I'm putting all my effort into trying to get that because you need money to live. I want to start a family. I want to raise kids. But I also want to be happy, and I want to do things that I find fulfilling. And I know that I have intellect, and I have experience, and I have skills that can add to Canada and to the world. It's just a matter of getting off the ground, getting started, and not having to worry about having the basics like keeping a house or paying bills or eating to worry about. It would be so much easier if there was guaranteed income. And I know that for instance, I'm very well off. I'm not a good example of the kind of person who would benefit from this program at its base level. It's meant to help people with poverty and with healthcare costs, raising families right now, keeping food on the table for their entire family. But for me personally, this would be awesome. Even if I had a job, I can see huge benefits for this. It would leave people open. They wouldn't have to necessarily work 37 and a half hours a week, which is just a ridiculous made-up construct anyways. People would have more free time if they had this guaranteed income. They'd be able to volunteer. They'd be able to produce art. They would be able to put their time and effort into things that they care about while being assured that they're not going to be poor or they're not going to be impoverished by it. Income inequality in the Western world and in the whole world, all the developed countries, is just getting worse and worse. CEOs are paying themselves more, executives are getting paid a lot, and the poor are just getting even poorer relative to them. They've shown that at the lowest level, wage inflation is going up about 10% at the bottom level of companies, but CEOs are making on average 38% more than they were at the same period. So income inequality is just getting worse, and this would it wouldn't level the playing field because the poor are getting benefits, but rich are also getting benefits. It's not welfare. It's just guaranteed income. It just keeps everybody it raises the lowest common denominator of person. And I just think it's a really great idea. So I also wanted to talk about changing the frequency of videos, which is something you mentioned in your last video. I'm really going to strongly discourage you from doing that. I really like watching your videos every week. I know you think your topics are either lame or stupid or that nobody cares about them, but I just don't think that's true. You're seeing it from your own perspective, and everybody is sort of self-hating and thinking that they're not worth as much as they are, but people find your videos interesting. I know they do. Your 2 videos talking about things that were different in France are our 2 most watched videos on this channel, so I know you have interesting things to say. It's an interesting challenge for me, and I'm sure for you, to come up with something interesting to talk about every week. And I don't think you should give up on that just because it's hard. It is hard. I'm not going to argue with you. It's really difficult to come up with something interesting, and sometimes what you come up with isn't all that interesting. But it's important to you. Obviously, if it's important enough for you to put time into working on it, working on a video and making it and editing it and all that stuff, it's obviously worth it. So I hope it is worth it to you to keep going at the same frequency. At least give it another try. You mentioned in the video that you think I have a ton going on and a ton to talk about, but I really don't think I'm that busy. I don't have a lot going on. I have projects that I work on every week that I love doing, but that doesn't take up all my time. So if you have time, and please let me know if you don't, but if you do have time to put into this, I really hope that you'll consider keeping going every week. I know that I'll just be sitting here. If I'm not releasing channels on Natural Update, I'll be really trying to push other venues, other channels, and I'm not going to stop. So I'd love to have you on this ride with me, at least as often as you can. If you can't do it every week, I understand. I agree that that's fine. You can do that if you want, but I really hope you'll give another chance, or at least another couple weeks worth. If we want to talk about changing days, that's a whole other issue. I think we could change days. I don't really necessarily love Friday. I would be willing to change to say a Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever day works best for you. These are kind of 2 separate issues, but let me know if you're up for changing days, because I would certainly be up for that too if you want. So I love you, and I'll see you on Wednesday, hopefully. We'll talk in between this, but yeah, love you. Bye.